Thanks very much, Ronan. Our first speaker tonight is Cullen. And Carmen is going to do two pieces, Templemore, Park of Dreams, and she's going to sing a song, kind of marital creative song. Thanks, Carmen.
Just before she starts that, there's no like voice. Thanks.
I don't know if I can be heard or not. Can you hear me? Yeah. As CJ said, my name is Carmen. I was born in the what was known as Mullaly's Hotel in Templemore. I lived there until I was 5, and then my father married again, and we moved out to close to Ballingarry. So I've written, it has stayed in my mind, this town has stayed in my mind. I wrote a lot of poetry connected with it, even though I left here when I was 5. I've finished a novel, which hopefully will be published next year, and it is set in Templemore. The first half of it is set in Templemore. So I'm really going back to my childhood feelings and my sense of myself as a child when I start to reflect on this, and it has that kind of, I think it has that sort of dreamlike quality to it. So I'll start off with reading the poem because Ronan asked me to do that. He said he liked it. So it's page 75. And you'll recognise the street in this. It's the main street of this town, and when you're a child, a street seems like an enormous, stretching beyond, the ability to even cross it. And so we weren't actually allowed to cross this street, but when we did, we did what we were told not to do. When I was a child, the main street of our town was more like a sea to cross, and the people who lived on the other side were different to us. We listened, they were boss. That was the side of the town we'd no rights, where parents were stricter than ours. You could not move them with a sorrowful gaze, complain of food, make noise and fight. The crossing once made a great setting out. There was also the town's only park. Like a playground for stories it beckoned. Trees for a forest, pathways, dark parts. At its heart lay a lake of silver powdered blue, edge plunging over the world. There, past weedy rim down fathomless depths, green people lived on a gold sand bed. The forest of trees gave the heart a greater thrill. I thought it the home of wild beasts. Each creak of an oak, see how the trunk leaned, made me think someone listened, a black witch bent low and mean. Outside the park's wall, if I dared go at all, were disappearing roads and empty streets. Closed doors like sealed lips when I draw near. Roamed far from home, yet still at ease. Crossing over was to heed the cry adventure, to cut loose ties and brave this new world on my own, especially with my dog to lead me homeward, however far I choose to go or long the road. So that's the poem. And So when I started to write a novel which had its first part set in Templemore, the park, of course, came into it. And in order to fictionalise the town, I called it Turindulla, or Tooraloo for short. The little girl called it Tooraloo. So this is through the eyes of a 4-year-old. And I'll just read the first page. And it's the same park, and I called the father Teddy in this, and I called the mother Imelda. So they're the little girl's parents, and she has an aunt who's come to live with her because the mother has sort of disappeared off the scene. She can't admit that her mother has died, but she has. And she has 2 invisible friends called Betty and Lou, and the dog is called Floppy. And the lake comes into it again. The gateway to Tooraloo Park was right in the centre of the town. Crowned by a stone archway, it was recessed from the road. That meant that Jacqueline couldn't view the entrance from her hotel breakfast room window. Sunshine never penetrated the spot, making it a place you didn't want to linger in when you arrived. But it was no harm to hurry through, because beyond the high boundary wall, golden sunshine had a way of pouring onto grass and gravel paths. The park is not a safe place for small girls to wander in unaccompanied, Jacqueline had heard Auntie Mina say to Teddy at breakfast recently, And in many ways, Jacqueline could see what she meant. The lake was evil, and if she went too near it, waves might grab at her feet and, like that man before her, pull her in. It also had big trees that creaked in the breeze, whispering to each other when she should arrive in their midst, as if she was some sort of prey to snatch into a tree bosom and suck the life out of. To make everything all right, though, the park had parts she had yet to explore, as inviting as untrodden snow. It had gravel trails reaching into a land beyond her town, where the wonders of the world waited to be viewed and sampled. If she got lost, Floppy was there to lead her home. This last thought was sufficient to entice Jacqueline now, despite a fast-beating heart, to cross the road to begin her adventure into the unknown. Jacqueline had been in this park before with Betty and Lou, and they hadn't journeyed very far. They're her invisible friends. Their purpose was more to acquaint themselves with how the park looked, to have a sense of familiarity with how it might be done, in case they decided to move in further at some time in the future. They had travelled as far as a concrete stand for a disused tennis court and clambered to the top of the steps to look down. This allowed a view of the lake. It stretched a long way, tipping over a pale horizon. It glinted like the fish Teddy sold on Fridays, or that gleaming cluster of pearls stitched onto Imelda's wedding dress. Stuck in the centre of the lake, a patch of green had an abandoned air. With Betty and Lou on either side, Jacqueline trained her eyes on the water. If the man who had stepped into the lake appeared, they might have to rescue him. Perhaps he had forgotten who he was and how to get home. He's playing with strangers he's met under that watery surface, Lou explained. He's met some children and is dancing in a circle with them, singing Ring-a-Ring-a-Rosie, We'll All Fall Down. It's easy to forget who you are when nothing about you is the same, and so much water everywhere stops you being able to think. We should wait and keep looking, and the moment we catch a sight of somebody call out, Lou chimed in. He just didn't need to hear a human voice to become who he was and walk towards us. It would make Jacqueline a heroine, she nodded at the waiting girl. So the story goes on. So she has a sense of, her sense of loss is sort of incorporated into this novel. But she's living through the minds and the mind and the imagination of a young girl, and there's always the future to look forward to. And in the end, she resolves this sense of loss by knowing that her mother really hasn't gone away, that she's there with her always, even if it's in an invisible way. So now I'm going to sing a song. I don't know what all that was about. I said I'd sing the Connemara Cradle song. I could sing Shlíomh na Mán, but I think I'd be singing to the converted if I sang Shlíomh na Mán, so I think I'll sing the Connemara Cradle song. And I have a sense that my mother might have sang this song to me. I've heard many stories travelling around the country about my Aunt Delia Murphy and my mother. And one of the stories about my mother was that she could, she had a beautiful, sweet voice, and when she started singing, the whole place would come to a standstill and listen to her. And especially on Sundays at Mass, you could hear her voice in the choir, travelling down through the church. So she was supposed to have had a beautiful voice. And, I'm very proud of that side of my family. In fact, my grandmother came from, what? Dunkerrin, that's right. I actually came through it on the way.
Your mother's mother?
Yeah, my mother's mother, my grandmother. So this is the Connemara Cradle song. On the wings of the wind o'er the dark rolling deep, angels are coming to watch o'er thy sleep. Angels are coming to watch over thee. So list to the wind coming over the sea. Hear the wind blow, love, hear the wind blow. Lean your head over and hear the wind blow. O winds of the night, may your fury be crossed. May no one who's dear to our island be lost. Shine the light brightly,
can be the foam. Blow the winds gently and guide us back home. Hear the wind blow, love, hear the wind blow. Lean your head over and hear the wind blow. The currents are sailing way out in the blue, laden with herring of silvery hue. Silver the herring and silver the sea, and soon there'll be silver for Babby and me. Hear the wind blow, love, hear the wind blow. Lean your head over and hear the wind blow. The curraghs tomorrow will stand on the shore, and Daddy goes sailing, a-sailing no more. The nets they are drying, those nets heaven blessed, and safe in my arms, dear, contented he'll rest. Hear the wind blow, love, hear the wind blow.